So let's start this video off by looking at this sort of general, very common light on eBay. And it produces this really interesting effect. You get the single colour versions, which kind of produce a more distinct effect, but the multicolour version with red, green and blue produces the sort of three overlaid effects, and it's basically a spiral that emanates out from the middle of the light. And it's a really, really simple design. It actually spreads out for quite some distance either side. And the idea is that if you put this in a wall, it just creates a splash of light up against the wall. So I'm going to pause the video momentarily, and we'll take a look inside this and see what makes it tick as such. So this little light is drawing approximately 3.4 watts. It's rated as a typical 3 watt light, and it's got that very standard LED driver sort of power supply in series with it. So let's disconnect this, and we'll open the thing up. We'll open the power supply up and take a look as well. I kind of know what's inside that, but you know what, there's no harm opening it up just in case there are any surprises. So let's unplug this. I like the fact that everything just unplugs, and you can buy sort of generic power supplies with that same plug in it. It's nice that everything's standardised that way. So LED driver, it says 300 milliamps. Yeah, 3 times 1 watt LED. So Spudger. The Spudger I frequently use in this. It's a very common tool. It's a strip of stainless steel. I think it's stainless steel. Is that stainless steel? Is it ordinary steel? It's got a slight magnetic attraction, so it's a steel strip. But it's quite tough but flexible, and it's got this sort of label either side that actually acts as a handle, because otherwise it'd be quite sharp. And the main business end here, well, I suppose both ends are usable, but the main business end for prizing has the sort of 2 different angles, and it's also the tip is flat, possibly actually it's slightly curved, but it's also just got a slight the edge taken off it to make it sort of pointy. And that means you can sort of get it into things and use it to prise covers off without doing too much damage to plastic. So inside this is the classic little thing that uses a sort of bright power chip, 4.7 microfarad capacitor, just the usual thing really, full bridge rectifier. It's just the classic little power supply found, you know, so often in these things. Cheap, about 99 pence you can buy these little power supplies for, just a generic little thing. The light itself, it's designed, I'll bring that back in because that's kind of important here. It's designed to put this in a wall or ceiling or wherever you want it. I suppose you've got 2 options here. You've got 2 holes for screws, but you've also got this sort of spring-loaded mechanism here. And the spring-loaded mechanism is designed that you can cut a hole in a wall, and then you can put the power supply through. We'll make your connections by using suitable connectors. Ultimately, it's not going to, like most of these lighting things, it's going to be quite hard to properly put covers over the connections when you poke them into the wall. Unfortunately, it's just a fact of life that a lot of lighting involves terminal block poked into walls. But yeah, the power supply gets poked in, this gets plugged in, and then you squeeze these springy prongs together, push it into the wall, and then they try and open behind the wall, and they pull it up to the wall, and it holds it tight on the wall or ceiling. Inside, and this is where it gets very simple. The base plate has a thread on it. The aluminium shell has a thread in it, and at the end of the shell is that threaded as well, or is that just a friction fit? I think that's just a friction fit. Can I push that out even? No, it seems to be possibly glued or screwed in. But on the end is a little circuit board which has the 3 LEDs wired in series, red, green and blue. And it's actually screwed onto the back it's obviously drilled and tapped in there, and they've got a small screw in the middle. And I can see little hints of sticky paste, so I'm guessing that is soft heatsink compound. Where's my screwdriver so I can poke it? Yeah, it's just standard white heatsink compound, the sort of stuff that's sort of zinc oxide loaded paste. Now, the fact the wires just go right up to the middle in here also means you get a slight interference of the light where it gets blocked by the wires, so it doesn't create a perfect pattern around it. But the idea is that this pattern of spiral holes around the side, because the lights will shine through those holes, and it depends the placement of the light inside, it gives that separate sort of different coloured spirals. It's very simple, it really is just the LED shining through a mask. If anything, the thickness of the aluminium is such that it probably blocks a good chunk of the light. But having said that, this is just a little feature light. It's not really designed for anything other than just creating a splash of colour on the wall. And they are available in single colours or this red, green, blue. I believe you can even get the sort of colour changing ones, which wouldn't really provide mixed colour, but would just provide a movement in the sort of the beams. And this bit is quite tricky to get on the thread, but once it's on, that's fine. So yeah, interesting little thing. It's neat, it's simple, it works. It also has those two holes if you wanted to physically screw it onto a wooden surface or something like that. But yeah, pretty neat. It's not a bad little light at all. It's a good effect.